We all would love to have a nice boat, but the reality of boating is that very few people actually need a boat. My friend Luke McFadden is a commercial crabber, and he actually needs a boat. And the people who live on this island here, they need a boat. But for most of the rest of us, owning a boat is, well, it's a luxury. We get a boat because we want one. And everyone in the boating industry knows this. And those companies often leverage this fact against us. But if you love the water and you want to save this lifestyle, stick around as we dive into why greed is destroying boating. The open water, it's the last frontier, the great escape from the crowded highways. For generations, boating has been the ultimate symbol of the American dream. Boating was a luxury that an average hardworking family could still achieve if they saved up. But that dream is dying. Many of the boats I see on the water are priced way out of reach of the average person. And at the same time, small private marinas are selling out to national corporate managers. And the price of entry is skyrocketing. I'm not talking about a normal market adjustment. I'm talking about something darker. This is a story about greed. Greed that is systematically pricing the lower and middle class right out of the water. Not by accident either, but by design. Greed that has poisoned the industry from the boat show floor to the corporate boardroom. In this video, we're going to expose three things. How boat shows are no longer for you, how massive corporate consolidation is killing customer focus, and finally, we'll identify the bright spots, the true value brands, and products that are still fighting to keep boating accessible for me and for you. And if you don't know who I am Wayne the Boat Guy, and these days I can usually be found boating in my 1967 Glastron speedboat, which is now powered by a very slow electric outboard motor. Or I might be on my little wooden jimmy skiff that I built. The reality is that I love and respect all kinds of boaters, and I enjoy all types of boating. And in this video, we're looking at the greed that drives the boating industry. Let's start with the hard truth. New boat prices have skyrocketed in the last few years. Before this boom, a middle-class family could potentially afford a new boat if they made it a priority. But those days they're over now. Because while boat prices have doubled, wages have simply not kept pace. And ownership has become even more of a rich man's hobby. The industry is caught in this profit loop. If you can't sell volume to the middle class, you focus entirely on margin from the top 1%. This shift is nowhere more obvious than at a modern boat show. Boat shows are no longer a place to introduce newcomers to the lifestyle. Instead, they are evolving to focus heavily on the repeat buyer or the high net worth buyer, the person with money. So I was looking for a couple of budget boats and spotted these two here. I'm thinking they look pretty reasonable.
Used to be not long ago.
If you're a first-time shopper, you are often left out in the cold. The experience is being tailored for those who are ready to upgrade to their third or fourth boat, not someone just learning how to dock. You'll see things like upgraded hospitality offerings, personalized outreach, and VIP invitations, all designed to court the existing boat owners to buy their next boat. And I'm always very surprised to see that there is very little to no product offering for budget boaters, or people looking to buy a very small boat. Even way back in 2021, when I went to my very first boat show, the only thing that I saw for the small boater was a Hobie kayak display. And they had prices of over $2,000 for a kayak. And that was back in 2021. Even in the tent areas, the booths, the vendors, they're all selling products catering to the upper class boat owner, like these crazy anchors. And this trickle-down focus on luxury is killing value innovation. Like, think about the massive international boat shows, like Boot Dusseldorf, which are essentially yacht shows. That is where the money is spent. That is where all the research and development and marketing budgets are poured into, developing seven-figure vessels with complex electronics. And when a manufacturer has the choice between developing a new innovation for a flagship yacht or a cost-effective solution for a 17-foot starter boat, where do you think the investment goes? It goes over here to the yacht. It goes to the boat that provides the highest profit margin for them. The entry-level buyer, well, they're not even considered, or they're an afterthought. Even marine industry associations have admitted that this is a problem in the industry. They've stated that focusing solely on the repeat buyer is a miss, and that the industry is losing sight of the opportunity to introduce first-timers and make them feel welcome. They actually recognize that people new to boating want to learn, and they want to dip their toe in the water, so to speak. They don't want a hard sell for a $250,000 boat. The fact that this has to be stated as a strategy tells you everything. The industry's default setting has become luxury first and new customer last. Take a look at this chart. It shows the average boat price divided by the median household income. A value of 1.0 would mean the average boat cost exactly one median annual income. In 2004, the average boat price was about 28% of the median annual household income. By 2024, that ratio had climbed to approximately 1.86, meaning that the average boat price was nearly twice the median annual household income. The single sharply rising line demonstrates the widening gap, and as you can see, other than the small dip from COVID, there hasn't been any change in the last several years. A boat show is now a mirror reflecting the industry's central flaw, which is an insatiable appetite for profit that makes the barrier to entry so high that the next generation of boaters simply gives up on buying a new boat before they even start the process. The second and perhaps most destructive form of greed is corporate consolidation, and that's across many industries. The boating business is restructuring at a rapid pace we haven't ever seen before. Investment groups, publicly traded companies, and massive conglomerates are buying up everything. They're buying boat brands and dealerships, and especially marinas. Why are they doing this? Because the fastest and easiest way for a publicly traded company to grow its earnings in a slow market is not by innovating a great affordable product, it's by acquisition. So they gobble up competitors to eliminate choice for the consumer and boost the bottom line. Now, the scariest part of this is the acquisition of waterfront property. When a company like Safe Harbor, for example, acquires marinas across the country, they are making a real estate play. The good news is that they often invest staggering amounts of capital to upgrade potentially run-down infrastructure. So they're installing things like new floating docks and better facilities, and which include things like showers and even pools, which can improve the boater experience. But there's also a danger with that, because marinas are located on incredibly valuable waterfront property. When one large company controls all the boat slips in a region, they control the prices. And the ultimate fear is that at some point the land may be sold for other uses, like condominiums, which would lead to the permanent loss of boating access for an entire community. All of those increased marina amenities make it so that a budget boater like you can't afford to keep their boat in the marina. You're forced to trailer your boat and store it elsewhere. In other words, it's not about providing water access to people, it's more about restricting water access to a very select group of people who can afford to pay the price. And that's not right. This corporate focus also forces manufacturers to make hard choices that hurt the entry-level buyer. Take a look at Brunswick Corporation, one of the biggest marine companies in the world. And if you don't know who they are the company that now owns Mercury Outboards and several well-known boat brands that all at one time used to be separate individual small boat companies. Companies like Boston Whaler and Bayliner and Sea Ray, as well as the people who just focus on making smaller boats like Lowe, Lund, and Crestliner. Well, Brunswick Corporation recently announced a strategic consolidation of their manufacturing footprint, designed to reduce fixed costs and accelerate improved profitability. What models were impacted first? Well, they rationalized that their value boat model portfolio, which is the small, affordable fiberglass boats that are crucial for new buyers, those were the first things to get cut from the line to make the company's financial profile look better. Their focus is on profitability, not on accessibility, which also explains the severe lack of development in areas such as the small aluminum boat market over the last 20 years, and the continued shrinking of product offerings. For example, like small utility boats that are no longer offered by some brands that used to offer them just a couple years ago. And finally, let's talk about the fancy marketing term known as vertical integration. Conglomerates are buying up brands, then buying the dealerships that sell those brands, and sometimes even the brokerage divisions that sell the used versions of those brands. In theory, this could potentially lead to a better customer experience, by sharing best practices. But in reality, what it does is it reduces consumer choice. When you buy a boat from a Brunswick brand, the only engine they offer on that boat as new is a Mercury, because it's a way for them to sell more Mercury branded engines, which are their product. When you buy a boat from Brunswick Corporation, you are locked into that corporate ecosystem. Your service, your parts, your maintenance, and your future trade-in value are all controlled by the same company. This lack of competition allows for higher prices and less incentive for and a chance of truly customer-focused service. It's a closed loop, and it's driven entirely by profit. Now, people who remember what it was like dealing with brands like Boston Whaler, Lowe Boats, and Lund in the past, they can share stories of great customer service and innovative products or creative dealer packaging because those brands were competing for customers. But those days are basically gone. I know I'm painting a picture of doom and gloom, and it can feel hopeless. But there are some bright spots. If you are a new buyer looking to get on the water for a reasonable price, you have to really look past the glitz of the big boat shows. The first bright spot is the personal watercraft, or PWC, like this Sea-Doo Spark. Commonly referred to as jet skis, a personal watercraft is arguably the most accessible gateway to boating nowadays. They're generally easier to tow, easier to store, and easier to maintain than a regular full-size boat. In fact, the personal watercraft segment generates almost triple the number of new entrants compared to aluminum and pontoon boats. They are the critical first step that gets many people addicted to being on the water. And if you're looking for your first boat, a personal watercraft deserves your consideration. The second, and I feel more important bright spot, is the aluminum boat segment. Aluminum boats, from John boats to larger skiffs, are really the unsung hero of real value. After all, they're rugged, they're versatile, and they're much more forgiving for new boaters who are learning how to operate things and crashing into stuff. And this is where true value brands still reside. Look at brands like Tracker Boats, which are sold at Cabela's and Bass Pro Shops. Comparatively speaking, they offer a good bang for the buck. Low Boats, which is a Brunswick brand, and brands like Alumacraft and G3 Boats, all are offering reliable aluminum boats with great potential fishing features. If you want simple no-fuss boating that gets you on the water, the answer is aluminum. If you're in the market for a fiberglass boat, there are still a few companies that are prioritizing the first-time buyer or the budget buyer. The best example, honestly, is Bayliner, although they are a Brunswick company. Bayliner has been a long-time favorite for the budget-conscious boater, and while other brands have been eliminated, Bayliner still makes models like their Element series and their M series, specifically designed to be straightforward and non-intrusive. They come out of the box with plenty of seating, and they include the engine and the trailer for a price point that is often significantly lower than the industry average. They skip the overwhelmingly complex technology and focus on the essentials. It is a way to get into boating. Also check out Stingray Boats, a builder that has focused on smaller boats for decades, keeping their models stripped to the essentials to ensure affordability. And I hope there are other examples you might share in the comments. Finally, while the used boat market is still your best bet for ultimate value, you really must be careful, because even older 10-year-old boats have seen dramatic price inflation. The key is being realistic, not hoping for prices to ever go back to where they used to be, but buying smart and getting a boat that's actually easy to maintain and that hasn't been abused or neglected. The forces of greed in the boating industry are clear. It is the shift in focus at boat shows to focus on the wealthy, and the corporate consolidation is killing competition, raising prices, and cuts value models. This is shrinking the sport that we love. So what can we do? We as customers still hold some power in the marketplace. When you shop, if you reward the brands that are committed to the entry-level market, the Bayliners, the Trackers, the personal watercraft, this sends a signal that accessibility does matter. And with dealing with consolidated dealerships or consolidated marinas, ask them hard questions about service costs and long-term access and what you really can and cannot do. And really the only way to stop this is to raise more awareness. If you believe the water should be open to everyone, and you agree with what I say in this video, please share this video. And here's my final thought. Boating is more than a hobby. It's a connection to nature. It's time with family. And it's a special kind of freedom. We cannot let corporate greed turn the open water into a closed, private country club. We have to fight to keep the dream alive. I'm Wayne the Boat Guy. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the comments, and hopefully I'll see you out there on the water.